So I get in the four-wheeler, cruise up the trail to get to the light, and it's Dusty and James walking, and Dusty's eyes are like really, really big, and his face is white, and he's like, Tosh, I think there's a deer down there. And I'm like, okay. I don't know if it's okay, something, I forget what he was saying. And then James is looking at me, and I'm like, okay, Dusty. He's like, you should check it out. And then all of a sudden it's like, it was a bear. No, it was a bear. It was snoring. I heard it snoring.
Welcome to the best hour of their day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez.
And me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
We already started, Nate.
Yeah.
It's too late.
We'll add it in. We'll add it in in a minute.
Welcome to the show.
Voice over that.
Welcome to the show. Tosh is taking.
I got my pen just in case something happens, so I don't have to interrupt and I can take a note and come back to it later.
This is.
It's a true professional right here is what that is.
But this is level 4. So
Tosh.
you don't have you don't have a notebook.
Oh, that's right. I am a 2 level 4s and level 3 here.
Yep.
Write that down.
You writing that down? That's level 3 notebook right there.
I should be writing. I should be taking notes.
Do you have, if he has another pen on him?
I should turn my phone violent.
I was gonna say you have a pen in your phone. I thought. But what is it like? You pick a topic and you just start talking?
Yeah, no, yes.
Because there's an art to that, and I've listened to your shows. You keep your audience's attention.
I appreciate that because sometimes you push record and you just go, and then you push record to stop recording, and then I'm always tempted. Oh, don't do that. That was stupid. That's gonna be no good. Delete it. Don't hang that one. Record again tomorrow. Whatever. And then inevitably, I just made a deal with myself that once I push record, now I might stop and start because I had a bad start. But once I get going, hell or high water, man, you just post it and publish it and let it go because it's more authentic, and that's what I'm trying to communicate. Just an authentic, genuine message of the things that I think about and how I process in my head. So maybe back to your question would be, I started the podcast because I wanted it to be conversations to my son and daughters as I process the world and think about things that they could listen to and learn, because I'm a long distance dad, right? Like, because I'm divorced, and I see the kids very less often than I'd like. So my opportunity for engagement as they're getting older and going through these very, very critical years of development as young adults, right? Pre-teens and through their teenage years, that I wanted to have an opportunity to at least influence and share with them who their dad is, so that they're not only having that single parent, their mom, helping them develop, right? So they can have at least 2.
Right.
I wanted to be in their lives, and then the podcast started to shift a little bit where I would find myself, because I was going through some struggles, nothing crazy, just normal everyday ups and downs, right? Or weekly or monthly ups and downs, but being frustrated with something, or something's consuming my mind all the time. And so I would just constantly think about it, internalize, have this, and I said, hey, well, why don't I just record my internal dialogue out loud? And so I would, if I found myself thinking about something for a few days, for a long car ride or whatever, I might write it down, and I would be thinking about it over and over again, and then that's what my podcast would be about.
And in doing it, is there some, because I kind of do that, not in a podcast form, but I'll write like blog articles, but for me it's completely selfish. It's for cathartic purposes. Mm-hmm. And then I've just I'll share it, and it is what it is. Like, and if somebody finds value in it, then great, but it's really not for you. It's for me.
Yep.
Have you kind of found the same thing where after you do it, how do you feel afterwards?
Yeah, I feel good. I feel, how you get caught up in your own thoughts in your own head, and you can find yourself pigeonholing into one frame of thought or one direction of thought, and you reinforce your own bullshit. Right. But when you start to hear yourself talking out loud, whether it's having conversation with somebody else or just talking to the mirror or just talking out loud, when you actually hear your own, where you can man, I don't know if I agree with that.
Right.
Or, oh, that sounds stupid. Or, oh yeah, you might be onto something, and it helps you. Otherwise it's just in your head, and it's like.
Well, I mean, what I found just doing this podcast, and it wasn't the intent, but it's helped me complete partial thoughts I've had for a long time. Like I've had a portion of a thought that I couldn't really unpack, and then talking it out not even for the purpose of talking it out. I'm like, oh, I have the complete thought now. It just took me 58 conversations to get there. And I'm like, oh, I was able to somehow put that together by accident. But now it's a complete thought that makes sense to me. And I'm like kind of happy with the thought, where before I was just like, it was just spinning in my mind. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm saying it, but it's not clear to me. So it's definitely not clear to the other person.
Well, you did that recently when we talked about intensity. And then like 2 days later, I saw you put a post up.
Oh, yeah.
And you had clearly been thinking about it.
Right. It was just burning my brain. And I was like, oh, well, let me just get it out there. And that way it's there. It lives. And if I ever like forget, I can go back and listen to it. I'm like, okay, that's the thought. It's almost like a reset. It's like, this is the thought. This is what I had at that moment. Because I'm sure there's a lot of thoughts that I have, and I'm like, oh, that's a great thought. And then it's gone. And I'm like, and I can't recapture it. I can't recall it. And I'm like, fuck, it's gone.
Yep.
You know, and I'm like, maybe it was profound. Maybe it wasn't, but it's gone. And I can't wrestle with it anymore. And I'm like, well, that was really what I wanted to do. I wanted to wrestle with a thought, and I can't do that anymore. So.
Yeah, especially when you're getting bombarded or saturated with signals and noise and other things pulling your thoughts in different directions. And then it's like, oh man, what was I thinking about? What was I thinking about? Where was I in that thought process? And then you just back at ground zero and never getting anywhere. And I use it sometimes. I'm like ridiculously frustrated, and I'll just go up there and I'll just hit record and I'll just start talking. It doesn't happen very often, but every now and then you might be able to tell some of the podcasts, but like I'm literally in the moment. Or
there's a tone to it.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, I'm working through some shit and I'm working through it out loud because I know if I don't, it's going to harbor inside. And it could harbor inside and fester in a wrong direction. I don't want that. I don't want to be that kind of person. I'm surrounded. Well, I'm not because I choose not to be. But, like,
based on our location, we're not surrounded.
I've got this luxury. Like I don't hang around douchebags anymore, right? Like, or people that can't. Like, it's like, yeah, hey, cool. I'm good. I'm insulated
no thanks.
from that. You know, but I don't want to be that either.
You mentioned you do it for the kids. Do they listen to it?
My daughter doesn't. My youngest daughter doesn't. My oldest from time to time. My son did for a while. But then, you know, the podcast, it's evolved. It's grown over the last 3 seasons now. So we're starting year 4. My frequency, so I was real deliberate. Every Wednesday I was recording and publishing, and then the next year. And then now it's taking less because I don't know if I've thought all the good stuff that I possibly think of right now.
Out of ideas.
Right? Out of stuff. But I found that I was trying to contrive things to talk about.
It was forced.
Yeah, and I didn't want to do that, you know, and then it was artificial. And then I felt like it was a chore at times, which I'm okay with responsibility. I'm okay with making a commitment and sticking to it. But if I'm not looking forward to that, is it coming across in the message? Am I forcing it? It doesn't feel authentic, or it's adding stress. Like the last thing I need to do is find another thing to be obligated to add stress to my life. This is supposed to be a stress reliever, you know? And like I might travel for 2 weeks and maybe I'll take the podcast equipment with me. Maybe I won't, you know, but instead of feeling like I'm chained to this, it's supposed to be something that's empowering for me. And it is, and I'm trying to preserve that while balancing, because Noah Dean, Dr. Dean, if you will, you gotta love Dr. Dean, right?
I don't know who that is.
You know, I thought you did.
I was pretending like I did.
I was looking at you and I was pausing. I was waiting to get the feedback.
I thought you were a doctor. I thought you were a doctor. Yeah.
Dr. Noah Dean, MC for Wadapalooza.
Oh, now I do.
CrossFit Odessa.
Now I do. Okay, I didn't know he was a doctor.
Well,
is he not a doctor?
He's a legitimately.
He's like
doctor.
me. He's like him. For fake doctors.
Hey, his degree says doctor.
Okay, you don't have a degree.
Tosh, you'll probably agree with this. I think the L4 credential should be a doctor.
Hey, why not?
Jenny, do you agree? Jenny Orr's in the background.
Yeah, she's watching.
Nate.
Scroll left.
So the first thing, how many of you currently coach people? Okay, when you started coaching, did you try to watch everything at one time? What happened when you did that?
I didn't know where to even start.
Yeah, it was kind of like everything got jumbled up.
She's a level 4.
Yeah.
This is the most level 4s ever together at the same time.
CrossFit Roots has the most level 4s on staff than any. There's
Who's
more
there?
level
Nicole,
4s.
Jenny, who else?
Oh, it used to be back when EC was here. Who else?
Oh yeah, EC was.
There was like 4 level 4s and like
still
everybody
2
was
at a
level
box is
2
substantial. I mean, best hour CrossFit has 1.
But he's a doctor, but I'm not going to let him like pull a tooth or check my prostate.
I think even if it was an MD, maybe don't let him pull any teeth.
But anyways, he's always texting, when is Tosh coming back? Where's the podcast this week? And it's cool because he doesn't do it in a way that's pressure. He just does it in a way like, hey, we're waiting for you, Tyler. You got stuff that we want to hear. You have an audience. And I'll get messages through whatever means to say, hey, Tosh, are you okay? Like, I haven't heard your podcast in a while. I really miss you. You do a lot for me. And man, not that everybody needs validation, but it is really nice when it just happens upon you authentically like that. It's really cool. It kind of keeps you going, wind in the sails thing.
I think that's cool, and I think it's okay to. I mean, it sounds like you probably struggled with that a little bit. We're like, should I feel happy about this? Like, is it okay for people to be, get
a fan?
Not necessarily a fan, but is it okay for people to get some sort of relief or some sort of value out of what I'm saying? Like, like Jess told me that years ago. She was like, hey, you should just write articles. And I'm a horrific writer, but
she just didn't want, she was sick of talking to you.
That's true too. But she was just like, hey, there's people that want to know what you have to say. And I was like, really? And I was like, that sounds weird. So then I did the same thing. I was like, well, I'm not going to write it for them because that feels weird to me and it feels inauthentic. So they're kind of like letters to me. And then people are like, that's really cool. I got a lot out of that. And I'm like, okay, well, then this is a win-win for everybody because I didn't write it for you, but I'm glad you got value out of it.
Is that authenticity?
I think so. I mean, I guess it depends on how you define authenticity, but it's authentic. Like it's unfiltered. It's not for any purpose or any reaction. It's just my thought, unabridged. So I don't know, but like I said, it was purely cathartic in nature. It's not for anybody. It's for me.
And bonus if people want to listen to it, read it, if it resonates with them.
Well, we did this. The podcast was the same genesis. We were just like, we want to talk to people. Like, I want to come and sit down and talk with Tosh. We just happen to be able to share it with people. And I'm like, okay, so that's a win. But if we were just doing this, sitting out there drinking whiskey, I would be just as happy.
You're the only one drinking whiskey, for the record. Yeah. Coffee, seltzer over here.
Listen, it's good balance. It's good balance.
Good. Table's nice and even.
For people that don't know Tosh in the CrossFit space, level 4.
Yep.
Are you level 4?
Yep. It's still current, I think.
Still current. Do you get credits for diesel days?
I don't. I'm good for another year, I think. So I haven't really. I'll cross that bridge next year when I get that message from Amy saying, "Hey, Tosh,
hey, you're about to be in trouble."
Jenny reminds me like once a day. I think at this point she's like, Jay, you haven't done something. Do it.
Get your ass up here for Diesel Day. You get 28 CUs.
I'm good. I would do it regardless.
April 1st.
Done.
Right.
Is you writing this?
You got nowhere to be.
Wait a second.
You're local. You live like in Boulder. There's no reason not to do it. April 1st, Ackerman.
Oh, great. I do want to. Fern and I talk about Diesel Days regularly, and his coaches are coming. But for the listeners, if you have a level 3 credential and you take a Diesel Day here, you get 28 CEUs.
Is that right? 28?
Yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, that's
a lot.
Damn near
I think you
It's
need
half
55.
Of, half of your requirement.
I think you need 55 every 3 years.
55 every 3 years.
55?
No, it's 50.
30?
It's 50.
Every-
It's 50.
Walk us through what a Diesel Day looks like.
And then you could take Diesel Day 2, which is it's moving through Diesel 1, whatever, but then you get another additional 8. I mean, you could come for 2 Diesel Days and have 36 CEUs just like that.
Damn.
Done.
And be a better human being.
Yeah.
Well, walk us through that, being a better human being. What is a Diesel Day like? Because I think this is one of those things that you understand and no one else understands till they show up.
Right.
I mean, I talk to Dustin Virgil regularly.
You were
with us.
Funny stories about it.
It was at the games this year. We Fern, Dustin, and I shared a car.
We had the best car at the games.
He was raving.
It was me, Virgil,
DeGane,
and Ackerman.
Joe.
Best car of all time.
So Dustin told us a story how he thought what did he say? He thought he saw a bear.
He thought he saw a bear. He was like freaking out, having delusions.
Do you remember that, Jenny?
Oh God, it was hilarious.
You remember this moment?
Yeah, tell the story. I want to hear your story.
Dustin would not care at all.
So in the middle of the night, I mean, okay, so Diesel Day is a 24-hour physical evolution. You're just moving. You self-select your scale, intensity, whatever, but you're just kind of doing operating for 24 hours. And really fatigued. And it must have been like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And we're hanging out by the garage, and the participants, are doing their trail evolution on the
he said you got like a point if you did it without a weight, 10 with a weight, something like that.
Yeah, there's some mild interesting details there, right? But he's got a plate with him, and he's doing laps, and they got a headlamp on, and all of a sudden we just look up there, and I'm on the left side of the garage, and Hobart's over there on the far right, and we're just kind of watching as things are unfolding late at night. And there's the instructor staff kind of comes in and comes out depending on what it needs. And this time of night, it's like, hey, we're pulling back a little bit to let them sort through what they need to sort out at 3 a.m, right? Like, shit gets ugly at 3 a.m. Especially after you've been going for 18 hours, right? 16 hours. And we see this light, and it's not moving. It's like, okay. And then we're kind of doing our thing, and then look up, there's this light, and it's in the same place. I'm like, man. And I didn't know, but Hobart had noticed the same thing going on, and he went for a walk to go check it out. And I waited for it a little bit longer, and I was like, oh, man. I told Jenny, I was like, hey, you got this down here. I'm going to jump in the buggy and cruise up there and check that out. And we hadn't known that James had already went up there. So I get in the four-wheeler, cruise up the trail to get to the light, and it's Dusty and James walking. And Dusty's eyes are like really, really big, and his face is white. And he's like, Tosh, I think there's a deer down there. And I'm like, okay. I don't know if it's okay. Something, I forget what he was saying. And then James is looking at me, and I'm like, okay, Dusty. He's like, you should check it out. And then all of a sudden it's like, it was a bear. No, it was a bear. It was snoring. I heard it snoring. I'm like, okay, Dusty. Okay, cool, buddy. Oh, and before I got to Dusty, Connor Warman was walking down the trail, and he's like, I'm like, I know I'm going,
Your boy up here.
And because Connor walked by, and Dusty had told Connor, so I'm piecing stories together, secondhand, third
telephone.
But Connor goes to walk by, and Dusty was sitting down on his plate, cross-legged, and he was like looking down this hill, and it's pitch dark. And when Connor walked up to him, he's like, don't go, stay here, you can't go, it's not safe. He's trying to convince, and Connor was like, you're fucking with me. Like, you're trying to beat, because they were
he was
involved,
yeah.
And Connor just was like, okay, Dusty, and he just kept walking. like a true, like, you just deal with your own
cool story.
shit, right? So anyways, Dusty thought he heard a bear snoring. He was convinced he heard a bear snoring down this little gully. Just drive up there and check it out. Just check it out. I was like, okay, Dusty. And James has kind of got his arm underneath his shoulder because he's delirious. It was hilarious, man.
And he's just if you don't, he's a big man.
Big dude, former. He may have made the games, but definitely a regional athlete, firefighter now,
police officer. Yeah.
Yep,
Fit. He's a fit dude.
He won the Madness last year. Dominated the annual Madness last year. He's gonna dominate again.
He's a better man than me.
He's amazing.
I'm a loser when it comes to the Madness. I've
Yeah,
never made the full year.
I wasn't going to say that.
Listen, I'm okay with you saying it. I actually wanted you to say it to my face.
I do want to hear about
the
the origin of the madness. But you talk about these diesel days. Dustin is a little delusional. How do you and Jenny and James? Because you're up. Is it simply the activity that takes people to a deeper, darker place? Because you're still up 24, 36, 48 hours with them.
Well, Jenny and James and I mean, we've been doing the diesel days, and your body gets a resiliency, and you're able to do it more. I think we're not physically working out, so there's that level of fatigue that adds to it. You know what I mean? But I would suggest that the three of us are working out up here a lot more. Like, I'm wicked exhausted, in the head, because you're just constantly trying to evaluate and engage and understand what you need in this. I'm not really trying to deliver my material as much as I'm trying to figure out what material would best serve you and how to deliver that so that you could best receive it.
It's kind of like a level
be
1
better
versus level 2.
Yeah.
Like with regard to level 1's like way more dealing with. I see what you're saying.
Right.
Like level 1's are like physically tiring, but level 2, like my brain hurts at the end of level 2's. Like, wow, that was a lot.
As the trainer.
As the coach, as facilitating. Yeah. So I get that.
Are you working seminars anymore?
No, I don't do that anymore.
Do you want to? Is it just?
Oh man, I had a great time. I loved going on the road. I mean, get to meet new people from all over the place. I mean, I love people. I love meeting people. I believe in CrossFit through and through. I mean, that's why I was so magnetized to it when I came across it the first time from Greg himself, at level 1 in Quantico. I'm a big CrossFit believer. Methodology, I mean, it's amazing. And
you did it with your Marines when you're in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it CrossFit because it starts to get a weird notate, and then they don't want to do it at the same, but they were doing CrossFit, and then they get doing it, and then they love it, and they're like, oh yeah, hey, like, that's CrossFit. And I'm like, oh, really? And like, yeah.
Gotcha.
You're eating vegetables.
Yeah, you didn't even know it was vegetables. But I'm a huge believer. And so going across the country to teach and deliver something that was so significant for me and making me a better Marine officer at the time, right? I wanted to share it with everybody. Plus then, like, all the people on the seminar staff. I mean, there's some amazing human beings that are on the seminar staff that you wear a red shirt with. And so you travel all over the U.S. and you get to be with those people again. And you want to talk about steel sharpening steel. You don't want to be a trainer at a level 1 seminar and not know your shit because you don't.
Jenny will yell at you.
Yeah,
we can talk about that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I never got to work with Jenny, actually.
Well, that's a good thing. She would have yelled at you, too.
I was supposed to work with her, and then she shit came and said, I don't want Tosh too much.
He's out. Get the guy off the game.
We tried to get Jenny on the podcast for the record.
But,
I think there's a lot of value to that, though, is that kind of like it's a healthy peer pressure. You know, because you're not really getting it from your peers, but you're kind of getting it from your peers. Like if you're a turd, people let you know, and that you self-select in that scenario.
Yep.
Which is like you're either going to be here or you're not, but it's not going to be based, we're going to kick you out. Like you're just not going to be able to deal with it.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's what I think what makes that crew really special.
It is.
Yeah.
It is unique. I think about the high-performing teams, collections of teams that I've been on through my life or whatever, you know, and I would put the seminar staff on par with some of the best teams that I've been on in terms of wanting to make me better, having to know your shit, being solid, being strong, like just across the spectrum. I would put that on par with the instructor staff at the infantry officers course. Like I would put seminar staff close to that. I mean, which is saying a lot.
I think people hear that, but I don't think they really understand. Like that's not. I don't think people, when somebody like you says that, you're not saying that's not a statement you make lightly. Mm-hmm. Like that's an earned statement. We're like, no, this group of people legitimately has their shit together and is pursuing betterment all the way around. Like everybody there shows up and they're like, I want to be a better public speaker. I want to have better interpersonal skills. I want to be a better leader. I want to be a better follower. I want to be a better worker bee, like whatever. And I think it's just, I haven't been around many groups like that. And it's just like, man.
Oh, and at the end of the day, when the flow master gives you feedback, and you're like, okay, you're writing all your feedback down. Like, give me more.
Right.
Okay, cool. Like, good. You gave me all the good stuff that I'm doing. Like, I don't give a shit about what I'm doing good. What can I do better? What can I do better?
You guys got good stuff on your feedback? What is that? Jenny, you doing the feedback wrong over there?
It was always 3 nice ones and 1 bad one.
Yeah.
I was like,
It wasn't a sandwich.
I just got 4 bad ones.
3 bad ones,
4 bad ones.
Yeah, so, but I think what is also unique about that group is it is no nonsense, and even if you are doing a good job, the level of competency that's expected is that there are always things that you can improve on, like things you're not paying attention to. Like all of us will get some level of complacency somewhere in our delivery in a seminar setting, and in the good flows, I think the ones who are paying attention know how to pick that stuff out. Be like, you're crushing it over here. I don't have any feedback. But right here, this thing right here, while it might seem subtle, it's not if you're trying to be the best. And if you're here, you're trying to be the best. So you got to clean that up. Yeah. That's what I've always appreciated. I've always got some sort of critical feedback from every flow master I've ever worked with. It was never like, hey, great job. Mm-hmm. It was like, you're doing really good. This could be better. And that's what I've always loved about it and come to crave it too. Mm-hmm. Which is like, don't tell me I'm good at stuff.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Oh, even it was the flows that I respected the most, I think, incredible. It wasn't the ones like, oh, you missed this word and you said this incorrectly and you skipped this. Like, okay, cool. But they don't spend a lot of time on that. It's just like, hey, you need to read your level 1 manual over again, your training guide, because you're not giving it verbatim like you're supposed to on these things, and you missed this point. Okay, cool. Like, got that. That hurts because that flow master knew that you cared about your job so much that was not going to happen again. All they had to do was say it. Right. But what they did dig in, I was like, hey, the next time you do up there, like, try working this and see what you get in terms of response or some sort of soft skill inside. And it's like, man, this person's trying to develop me as a human being. Yeah. And the application is in delivering the level 1 material to a seminar. Right. But that's just the application of this individual trying to make me a better human being for all these other applications. Right. Those flow masters have magic. Yeah. There's not a lot of them that can do that super well.
Who are you thinking about?
Well, you write it down. You write 3 names down on a piece of paper. I bet you we come up with at least one and all the same 3 names.
Yeah, there's a lot of carryover. Yep.
But
we're all gonna write Jenny because she's here.
I can't write. I never had to work for her.
Well, Tosh, what strikes me like it's fascinating about you is you have a rough exterior, but I think you are very vulnerable. Like you put that out there, even just in this, few minutes that we've going so far. When did that get developed in you?
Yeah, because I fucked it up. I know when it happened. It wasn't a good time. You think you're all fucking that, and the next thing you know, you're not, and people die. That'll sober you up quick. You think you're invincible. You think you can just do this. You can walk around a battlefield because of all your successes, and now you can cut corners and cheat corners, and you start believing in your own bullshit. Yeah, and then when people get hurt because of that, I remember that. And if it wasn't for Pat Millay saying, "Hey Tosh, I think you've had enough," I probably would have got a lot more people killed. So yeah, I'll never go back. I'll never go back and be that person. Too many people walk around all the time. They tell you what they know. I'm going to tell you what I know. I'm going to tell you what I know. I'm going to tell you who I am, who I think I am. It's like, yeah, hey, cool. Like you're fucking dangerous. I don't like to be around those people. I like to be around people that are willing to inspect themselves, identify where maybe they got some room to grow, because what that does is that's a reflection for you to be able to do the same for yourself. It's setting an example so that you don't fall in that trap, And when we were at the infantry officers course, Uncle Jay, Piers, Jay Lappy, we were instructors at the infantry officers course. This is all post most of my kinetic operations. Right. And then he had this saying, it's like, yeah, believing in your own bullshit. One of the most dangerous things you could ever do is believe in your own bullshit. And you're always going to believe in your own bullshit if you're around the people that continually believe your bullshit too. And not only do they believe in it, they feed it back to you. And then you're just in this echo chamber of bullshit. See how that works out for you when you're in the middle of the woods by yourself and you're trying to survive, or you're in the middle of this situation, in the middle of that, or worse, when you're trying to have people rely on you to know what you know and not bullshit what you don't know, so that you can organize strengths and mitigate weaknesses in order to be successful. And I started thinking about my kids. I don't be so full of bullshit, my kids, because if you think about your children, in my relationship with my children, everybody's relationship with their children is much different. I'm not saying that my relationship with the children is perfect or imperfect, it's just mine. But kids generally, they look up to their parents. Like, you didn't have to get a degree to be a parent, did you? You didn't have to get anybody's permission to be a parent. You didn't have to pass any tests in order for you to say, okay, hey, you're good to be a parent. You don't have to do any of that. You just fucking get drunk and do the wrong thing. And next thing you know,
I was gonna say I did have to give my wife permission.
Barely.
Any idiot can be a parent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like and what's so beautiful about kids are they look, no matter how fucked up that person is that's a parent. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, you can.
It's better off.
It's fine.
Kids will always give the parents the benefit of the doubt. Like, trust is implicit until the parent actually proves that they don't deserve it. Right? It's not like that when you're dealing with adults. Like, you have to earn my trust. Like, you don't just get it and then it's yours to.
Right.
You have to earn it. Kids will automatically give their parent figure the trust until that parent figure decides to lose it. And it's like, man, I don't want to be this dude that's so full of shit all the time. I have all the trust of my kids, and am I giving them shit that's going to ruin them for the rest of their lives?
I worked for a guy when I was a young Jay. I think I was a lieutenant, and I had a chief who was he was a tanker. He was a Marine, then transferred, went Navy, and he was great. Charles Smith, he's from South Carolina. I'd give that dude the biggest hug in the world if I saw him right now. And he always had this thing. He's like, there's essentially three types of men in this world. So there's men that don't raise their kids at all. There's men that raise their kids. And then there's men that raise the parents of their future grandkids. And that spurned my brain, because it's a whole different way to look at that. It's like, you're a child, but I have to look at this whole thing in the context of making you a good human being for later. And I've never forgotten that. So when he told me that, and it makes me look at, how I interact with my kids or my staff or just people in general. It's like, what's the downstream effect of my interaction with you? Just past you, not just me and you, but one step further than me and you. Is that going to Is that going to carry on? Is it going to be a negative effect? Is it going to be a positive effect? Like, what's that going to be? And thinking about it, having to do a lot of self-reflection of like not projecting my shit on other people, because then that will just go to the next person, whether that was my intention or not. And I was like, thanks, Chuck. You know, like that guy was great. You know, he had like, you know, he's like most chiefs, you know, like guys in the Marine Corps, he's like, you got a whole book of sayings that you're trying to write down half the time, you know, and, but that was one of them. We would sit around and just bullshit all the time, but he was great. I loved that guy.
Chuck.
Yeah. Charles Smith. He was great.
I don't want to take this off topic because that's awesome. But what you were saying and what you're saying, I think you can draw a correlation to affiliate owners.
Yeah. I mean it's kind of all the same.
What you were saying, you know, where it's like affiliate owners are notorious, Fern and I speak about, of getting caught up in their own bullshit and surrounding themselves with yes people. And then all of a sudden when they're alone, they're like, how'd this happen? Or what do I do now? And they're useless. So I think there's a lot that can be taken from that. For
I was that guy for a long time. I was, you know, when my affiliate was garbage, it was because of that. I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Telling myself every day, I'm like, oh, it's fine. You know, you ask any affiliate, I'm like, oh, things going pretty good. Is it? It's like you asking people about their nutrition. How's your nutrition? It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, and then when they're you get one coach that's willing to say something and stand up, and they're like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and then it falls apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think so. It is kind of going through that. Is that the genesis of Diesel Days? Kind of that evolution for you? Is that how you kind of crafted that, or is that a?
Yeah, I'll say that it is. So Shift Diesel Days, keeping affiliate that piece, because I think it's all similar. It's we talk about so let me start like this. Was doing Diesel Days, and then I started to remember the future. Right, I'm losing control of this narrative. I'm going to lose control of this brand. I've seen it happen with this and this and this and this, so that I can remember that for my future because it's ready to happen. And we've got Dustin Virgil, Connor Warman, jacked dudes crushing the Diesel Day, and we got pictures of it, right? And then we do a Diesel Day 2, and we've got so-and-so and so-and-so coming in, and they're breaking the record that Dustin Virgil set, and it's dudes that are jacked, lifting a lot of weights, and it's a diesel, the word Diesel Day, right? Like it connotes physical event. And so we started to get all these applications. Everybody wants to come and do this physical event. Tosh, I want to come for one of your beatdowns. It's not a beatdown. And I started thinking, and Portillo's like, sir, you're too soft. Portillo was a Marine who worked with me. And he came for a Diesel Day. He was in Fallujah with us. And he's like, sir, afterwards, I got some feedback for you.
Right.
And
I love
Portillo. And he's like, you're just too soft on these people. You're too soft. What happened to the old sir, you know, just beat the shit out, just crush us. And here you are, you're walking the trail and putting pickles in my mouth, and giving me a Jolly Rancher, and you're just nice, and you're saying nice things. Like, fuck that, sir. These people need the old you. I was like, yeah, you know, Portillo, I get it, Porto, man. Like, people are paying a lot of money to come here to learn some shit. Like, you know, this isn't the Marine Corps. Like, I could beat the shit out of you guys, and I had your loyalty, so you weren't going to tell on me.
It's different there. You had to do what I told you. Right? This is voluntary.
Yeah. And they're paying.
Yeah. But and then I started thinking, like, hey, I don't want people thinking that this is a physical event, because it's not. This is a psychological event that masquerades as a physical event. Psychological meaning emotional, intellectual, even spiritual, you could say, right? Like, but we masquerade it as a physical event. Hey, you're going to come here and you're going to work out for 24 hours. You're going to do this and you're going to, oh my God. And it draws, and you're CrossFit, and you got Rogue Fitness weights and this and that, and the images of our dudes with their shirts off that are jacked. And I'm like, yay. And so we had to deliberately take control of some messaging. Like, hey, this is not, you're going to come, you might come here for a physical event, and you might come here because you need to talk to Fernandez for a little bit, right? Like, Fern needs to have a conversation with Fern. You come here for different reasons. But everybody's going to leave saying, holy shit, this was so much more than the physical event. This is really, like, I got some out of the physical. Didn't think I could do this, and that's cool because we layer success points, right? But you're going to come out 10-1. Oh my God, the way I think now, the way I process, the stuff that I've gotten by going through this event, I'm a better person. And we used the catch line, and I got it from Clint Bruce, team guy from phenomenal dude, right? You know,
great public speaker,
amazing. Yeah. Every time I talk with him, his language patterns, the way he communicates, it's one of the greatest. It's erotic the way he
Oh, one of the
communicates.
greatest things I've ever heard him say is like the absence of adversity means you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Just phrases shit.
I was like,
What? I mean, where'd you get that clip? Right? He's got
Naval Academy guy.
Yeah.
Played in the NFL.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
dude, just has a story. You're just like, are you a superhero?
Navy
dude?
Football Hall of Famer, isn't he?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
so.
and then played for the Saints. Yep. Yeah.
He does a lot of work. Phenomenal dude. Just Google Clint Bruce, right? And I'm forgetting all this stuff that I could say about him. But anyways, he said something to me. He's like, Tasha, what you're doing basically is you're taking lessons from the battlefield and the ball field and making them appropriate to the boardroom and the breakfast table. I'm like, I talked to you for half an hour and you just fucking give me like 7 words. And it means more than everything that I said in a half an hour. You learn some shit in the ball field. You learn some shit in the battlefield. The same stuff, it's very consistent between the two because I'm a big consistency guy.
Right.
Can be applied in the boardroom and the breakfast table, meaning your profession, your family, at sport or play, and in combat, right? And you've got something really, really unique there, Tosh, that the way you think, I don't have to understand the scenario that I'm in and then pick the way to think for the scenario. Just think what you think and develop the program. And then regardless of the scenario, stick with how you think and you'll be successful. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. That's how I was as a Marine officer, you know, during the better part of my career when I was actually getting fairly good, I guess. And that's what it is. It's I've done a lot of ultra endurance events. I've done a lot of things in the military, and I find myself, you know, inevitably you find yourself faced up against adversity or self-doubt or conflict or struggle, whatever it is. And it's like, hey, I constantly get these questions on podcasts or conversations or interviews. Like, well, what do you think? What's your strategy? What do you do in this scenario? You tell us stories. Oh my God, what were you thinking? And finally, I just started writing those things down just because I was analyzing. We were going to write a book, and I started to see a trend in how I was answering certain questions and, you know, a collection of 7 or 8 or 9, whatever things. And I was like, man, I really do that. And every time you tell the story, like, hey, you ask a question, I answer it. You ask a question, I answer it. It's not maybe verbatim, but this is the same. And so I kept writing those down. And as I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, cool. I said, well, now what I need to do is I need to constantly do something harder and harder and harder, keep pushing my margins out.
Right.
And I'm done pushing my margins out. I'm getting ready to sit in my lazy boy and I'm going to buy a lazy boy and I'm going to sit in it and stop pushing my margins. I'm done with those things because it just keeps getting me into
Your margins are far enough.
Yeah.
Man, let's find something harder to do. Find something different than I was doing that's hard, and now consciously see if I'm actually using these or are you just full of shit?
Right.
And so there was and then I said, oh man, and then I just sort of packaged them up on the left hand. And I just call it checking in with the left hand. And whenever you're facing something or whatever, you just pick your left hand, just pick a finger. Well, that finger means this, and that finger means that. And you don't even have to pick the right finger for the scenario. Just pick a finger and start there and use what that finger represents. It's going to lead you to a different finger, and you're going to move through it. And so we created a Diesel Day event that helps you practice, put into practical application while you have a mentor coach there with you to work on this left hand material, and then it gets you through this event, right? Like, oh shit, I got to row in the rower for an hour. Oh my God, I sucked. Well, it gets you through that.
Right.
But that rower is symbolic of you having to sit at the breakfast table with your mother-in-law or whatever it is, right? Like, or in the boardroom, or some challenge or struggle that you're going to face, and then you get to practice it. And we get to put it into practice over and over again because over a 24-hour period, everybody's on their own. You can hit highs and lows at different times. And if we're doing our job right on the instructor side, we're pushing and doing this and doing that, and we're saying words and setting it up, not artificially, but we're present to help you through. And we're connecting you to help you practice. And you're going to hit it 4 or 5 or 6 or 10. Some people hit it 2 times. Some people it takes 20 hours before it hits them. But the physical piece is just the vehicle for me to deliver you to the mental space that allows me to be in there with you, to have the conversations that you're having in your head and teach you how to reframe the conversation so that you can be successful.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that the physical aspect in order to essentially maybe break that boundary so you can get to where you need to go? Like I have to remove that armor, that whatever that sheath on top of you because that's That's what's preventing us from getting there. So I have to like soften that up a little bit in order to get to whatever the shit is we're going to deal with. Do you find that is almost required? I mean, you could do this a lot of different ways, I'm sure, but it's probably like the easiest mechanism to do that, maybe. I don't know.
I'm just familiar with it, right? Like my background training, I always had this talent for figuring out how to train and do appropriate training and good training and quality, whatever through the military and then afterwards. And I'm physically wired by nature and leverage nature as well. You can put your guard up. Everybody can put their guards up and protect yourself. But when you start to get tired, it's harder for you to expend the energy on keeping your guard up, right? And you find yourself getting a little bit more, when you're physically fatigued, you get a little more emotional. It's harder to keep your psychological guard up.
What's the saying? Fatigue makes cowards of us all.
Oh, sleep deprivation makes cowards of fatigue, but sleep deprivation. You want to make somebody a coward? Just take away their sleep, man.
How quick does that happen?
Different for everybody. Yeah.
Your event's 24 hours?
Diesel Day 1's 24. How long is Diesel Day 2, Jenny? 32? 32. Diesel Day is 32. We add an extra 8 on for Diesel Day 2.
And do you find that you can get deeper on those days?
So Diesel Day 2, you don't get to do a Diesel Day 2 unless you've been to Diesel Day 1. Right. Because what we're doing is Diesel Day 1, you're going to come to me, and I'm taking care of everything. I'm helping you with your diet, your nutrition, not really your diet. I'm helping you with your nutrition. I'm helping with your mindset. I'm helping fix blisters, change your socks. If you tell me you need to change your socks, I'll change your socks for you. Like, I'll wash your hands. I'll bring you a towel. Everything is, you're 100% catered to.
It all happens here.
All happens here on the property.
That's Jay's kind of event. He doesn't like to do
massages or whatnot.
Massages.
24-hour massage is what I'm hearing.
Hit you with a Theragun. Sometimes you slap
you. Today.
Shove peanut butter and jelly
Sounds
down
like
your
more
throat.
action than I get at home. So
Yes, that's between you and your lady.
So that's Diesel Day 1.
Because
Tosh
what I
takes
don't
care
want
of
you to do, Tosh or James or Jenny or Connor or all of us.
Jenny's throwing down the massages? I'm in.
Because I don't want you focused on that.
Right.
I want to get the most work out of you as possible so I can deliver you as fast as possible to this, right? And then the sooner I can do that because you're not worried about these things and bang, now I'm working on because this is what matters to me, this and this,
right.
you know. Then when you get to Diesel Day 2, the total event changes. All the movements and the exercise and everything like that, the format changes. But what happens there is now I do a little less of certain things. As a staff, we do a little bit less of certain things because you're supposed to be able to demonstrate, like, okay, cool, like you can go for 24 hours nonstop when Tosh is there yelling at you or motivating you or giving you high fives. But Tosh isn't going to be with you for the rest of your life.
Right. You should be a little bit more capable now.
Yeah. And so it's an opportunity for you to put into practice what you learned at Diesel Day after you've taken some time. A lot of the benefits or the effects or the lessons or whatever it is, the match that comes out of Diesel Day 1 doesn't hit you until 2 months or 3 months later. And I'll get a text message or an email. Oh my God, Tosh, like,
put it together.
It's like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, everybody's on their own timeline. Some people it happens sooner. But I've been, of the Diesel days that we've done, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 or 13 Diesel days, maybe there's 5 people that I haven't ever heard back from. Not because because I make myself available to them beforehand, afterhand. Once you do a Diesel Day, you have forever mentoring, so you can reach out and I'll always engage. Like, that's just part of the thing. But Diesel Day 2, then you got to practice and put into play, and then we're still there, but the event ramps up, you know? Just because you got to get you to the psychological place again. And if you're practicing all the things that you've learned if you're practicing all the things that I gave you from Diesel Day 1, and you're coming to Diesel Day 2 when they don't work, well, what the fuck did I sell you at Diesel Day 1? Right? It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's great from a business perspective to constantly make money, but I'm not here to make money.
Yeah.
I'm here to help people.
Yeah, it's like, why do you need to see the doctor so often?
Come back to Diesel Day 2, and you should be successful.
Right.
And so if you're successful, your reason to think that if I kept the intensity level or the task the same, you wouldn't need me again. So I got to change the task and the intensity level. We got to lengthen the duration, and you're going to be successful until you're not. But it's really cool is to figure out when it doesn't work and break down, and then we can build onto that. And so it's like, it's hard for me to explain in just verb. I got to use my hands, but because I was telling my wife, Nicole, she says, I want to do Diesel Day 1 again. I'm like, well, why? Like, you've got it. You've
Yeah,
got
you
everything
did
you
it.
need. Well, I didn't do this and I didn't do this. I'm like, okay, cool. So you're going to come back to Diesel so that you can say that you did it and you fucking won? That's not what Diesel Day is about. Like, you can come back to Diesel, because what we do at Diesel Day 1 is here to here.
Mm-hmm.
You did it all. Maybe you arrived here.
Right.
Don't come back to Diesel Day 1 so you can solve this.
I see what you're saying.
Why would I do that? So come back to Diesel Day 2, where I do from here to here.
Right.
And so when you come back to Diesel Day 2, you get to work on not only this, but then you get to go to here. It's progressive in
Right.
thought for training, instead of like, oh, I got to get my 100% before I can go to the next thing. No. There's overlap, because then there's some reinforcement. And then there's now, if you come to Diesel Day 1 and you only got to here, which we've had one or two, but they came here for different reasons.
Right.
They didn't come here for that. Both of them came here because they were prepping to do, much like Lindsay Andrews, she's
Right.
prepping to do Kilimanjaro, right? So I kind of worked with them. But when Kate came here, she hit this, but she was prepping for an Everesting. And so we delivered her to there. She's one of two people that I would say, yeah, you can come back to Diesel Day 1 for sure. Come back to Diesel Day 1, man. I'll fucking comp you.
Right.
Like, I don't give a shit. Like, because I know that we were focused on this, but
Right.
she's a special client of mine in another realm. So we just got her to where we wanted her. Now she'll come back and we'll get the rest of this.
Right.
But you don't just come to Diesel Day 2. There's nobody that comes and just does a Diesel Day 2.
No, you shouldn't be able to.
No.
Yeah, you'd have to prove something prior to that.
Yeah.
That you're kind of like, I guess, worthy of. I don't say worthy. That's
Not
right, not
worthy,
the right word, but like
But ready.
ready. Yeah. You've walked the path. You're like, okay, I understand what this is about, and I'm the next piece is probably pretty clear to people coming into the second one. Where the
Yeah.
first one is probably, I'm kind of here to figure this out.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, if you just come to Diesel Day 2 and you've missed all this material, like, how am I supposed to make connection
Right.
with you so that you can make meaning of your experience when you don't have the
Right.
shared common experience that precedes it?
Right.
We have to operate from shared common experience to have implicit understanding. You know what I mean? And that's what all my events do, whether it's Diesel Days or the other stuff that I do with Crooked Butterfly Ranch or the Big Fish Foundation, is I try to create shared common experiences so that everybody has a baseline to make meaning and connection from. It's like a iterative learning process.
Right.
You know, I think we might have talked about it on the first
Yeah,
time
yeah,
we podcasted,
yep.
right? Like,
Yeah, we kind of dabbled with
training.
Yeah. Is so with those. So Big Fish. Explain to people what Big Fish Foundation is.
Oh, that's the nonprofit that
Right.
we set up for veterans.
Right.
We just provide amazing opportunities to veterans who want to continue to work on themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because well, it might not be recently, but did you just recently or last year do something with Travis Manning Foundation?
Every year, I do something every year with Travis Manning Foundation, but that's through Crooked Butterfly Ranch.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, Crooked Butterfly Ranch is a for-profit business that I started, leadership experiential learning.
Got it. Okay.
Right. And we were doing things, and we were doing amazing things for veterans, and I wanted to do more, so I was going to start making chewing tobacco to sell, so that all the money that I made from the chewing tobacco, I could
still
pay
want some.
for. I know, right? Fucking government. So that I could pay for the opportunity for veterans, because I felt like
Got
we
it.
were doing. And Bill Henniger was like, let's do it. Because he loves veterans, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
he's amazing man. And then when that fell through, he's like, well, what are we doing, Tosh? It's like, I just want to help veterans that they can benefit from this, but a lot of them can't afford it or whatever. And I just wanted to make money so that I could pay for it. He's like, well, I'll just raise money for you. Why don't you start a nonprofit and I'll give you money? And I was like, well, I don't want to start a nonprofit. I just want to help veterans.
Right.
I want to sell chewing tobacco. And so he just let me go for a year. And then finally I was like, hey, Bill, I want to do that again. He's
I'll
like,
take
"Yeah,
that
let's
money,
do it."
Bill.
And so
So how'd you get connected with TMF?
I had been working with TMF for a long time, even before Crooked Butterfly. Back when I was in the military, I've done some guest speaking, some
Okay.
keynote stuff.
Right. You didn't know
common
him, did you?
friends.
In
I
the-
didn't, but
Okay.
one of his really good buddies, Josh Jabin, is their
Yeah.
COO.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Because Jabin was
Marine up in
he was a Marine, but he
Minneapolis.
was a senior when I was a freshman. And then Travis was
Oh, shit,
Travis
that's
was
right.
he was a good friend of mine.
He was a year above you, wasn't he?
Jabin or Travis?
Travis.
So interesting story. So he was there a year before. I don't remember. I actually don't remember what but basically they like circled him back, and he ended up in my class. So
Okay.
plebe year, and then we graduated together. You know, did
I
at
never
least
put the
at least
connection
we did at least one summer cruise together. And he was and him and Brendan
Yep.
were
Looney?
roommates, and Brendan and I went to naps together. But
Okay.
yeah, his sister Ryan, amazing, you know, and his dad, and just really, really good people.
I never put that connection together.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I knew him for a long time. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Good dude.
Yeah, so
amazing,
Travis
amazing
Manning
shit talker.
comes up.
Yeah. Amazing shit talker. Yeah.
You know, like, it's cool. Like, you can hear people's friends say, hey, this person was a good dude, right? Like, okay, that means something. But, like, of course, you're friends. So what are you going to say? No, my friend's a douchebag? Like, come on. I mean, yeah, hey, my friend's fucked up here or there, but he's a good dude. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
But when you're men, now that's the luxury of a military experience, right? But, like, when you're men, like, men and women, okay, fine. I just didn't work with women in the infantry, but at my time, what they said about you spoke volumes. Like, oh,
Correct.
no, that's a good officer.
Right.
Or that's a good sergeant. Or
Yeah.
that's a good, gunny or whatever. Like, that meant the world.
Yeah.
Anybody can say something about their peers. Like, okay, that's a data point.
Right.
But I always used to say, I wrote a paper that didn't get a lot of thumbs up. Because at EWS or AWS, whatever, you had to write a paper, something. I wrote a paper, and I said, popularity is the ultimate leadership indicator.
I believe that.
And it's like, popularity? No, it's not a popularity contest. It's like, you're taking the word popularity the way
you
I'm
misinterpreted
not using
it. Yeah, you
And so I
misinterpreted
wrote
it.
this long, it had to be a long, I don't know, it was 1,000,000 fucking pages. Because it had to be, right? Like, true military fashion,
just
right?
randomly putting
Everybody
words in order. Like,
reads the first paragraph. And then goes to the
78
last paragraph.
adjectives in front of this.
And I was like, yeah, popularity, man. Like, whoever's the most popular is probably the best leader. But nobody read through the thick of the stuff.
Well, in the military, that term has a different meaning.
Negative, big negative.
Yeah. It's meaning like popularity. It's not the same like as most people look at popularity. Like if you're popular in combat units or stuff like that, it's probably because you have your shit together and you are a good dude. So that's what's just like, hey, do you know so-and-so? You're like, good motherfucker. And you're like, okay, check.
Yep.
Checks out. Got it. All right, cool. And they're like, and they might give you the, hey, what about that guy? You're like, he's all right.
What people don't say is usually more telling than what
Right.
people do say.
They're like, yeah, you'll see. You're like, oh, shit.
And not only that, but like popular amongst the three different. So in
and
this
down is
paper,
the
it
big
was
one.
Up, down,
Right.
and across the
Right.
peers, right? So your subordinates, your superiors, and your peers.
Right.
If all three of those guys are saying, or groups are saying, good dude, good, like,
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the one.
And that's the thing that I think that I've taken away from that, and then I think a lot in corporate world and a lot of scenarios they don't look 360, and they're like, oh well, the boss thinks they're great, and I'm like, well, he's probably kissing the boss's ass. He's giving the boss exactly what he wants. He wants a raise. Of course, the boss likes him. I'm like, what about the people that work for him?
Yeah.
Like, what about those dudes? What about his peers? Are they like, fucking douche? You know, like that's who I want to talk to. I want to talk to the people who work directly underneath that person, who work directly adjacent to that person. What do they think? I don't care what the boss thinks. We're going to find that out
Well,
anyway.
you do.
You do, but
You
like
care
that's
about all
easy.
three.
But we're going to find that out anyway. Like you're not going to advance if the boss doesn't think you or have your shit together. Like that one's kind of a pretty binary in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
Like the other ones are a little bit, they weigh a little bit more in my mind. I'm like, what do those people think? Yeah. You know, because your boss, like that's kind of self-serving in a lot of instances. Well, I do a good job because I want to go somewhere. I want to achieve something. But these are absent of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like my peers and the people that I work for, like, you know, I'm sure you have leaders that just stepped all over those people, made it all the way to the top because everybody thought they had their shit together.
Yeah. Oh, and I think it's important too to consider the source.
Right.
Right. Like, so I was in a bad place. I'll shoot this fucking guy if I ever see him. He's the only dude I'll shoot in the face if I ever
Not
see
really everybody, just, you know.
him. No, really. I left his command. He was a boss of mine. He was an absolute criminal, horrific human being. He actually ended up like getting court-martialed well after I left him. He got promoted like 2 more times, and then they reduced him in rank and kicked him out of the Marine Corps. Anyways.
Yep.
So I left working for him, and I was like, oh, Tosh is all fucked up. And I had to fight this professional reputation that was really, really good to freaking rock bottom. Like, Tosh is all fucked up, and for all different kinds of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because he's this and this and this and this. It's like, Jesus, man, I couldn't. It was bad place, right? And then I went to work at division schools because they had to put me someplace. And while I'm working at division, right before I went to division schools, I'm working for this colonel, and he sat me down. I'm just like, Jesus, here I am. You know, this Tosh has come in, and he's got everybody in the fucking Marine Corps knows he's all fucked up, whatever, because this guy, I mean, he was a battalion commander. He had a lot of pull. And I sat down behind Colonel Hastings' desk, and he just looks at me, recon dude, been in the Marine Corps forever. Like, just, he's working G3, right? He's ops for division. Yep. And he's like, hey, don't worry about what, so I'm not going to use his name.
Yep.
Todd Eckloff. I'm not going to use his name. Fuck that guy.
He listens to the show too, so it's awkward now.
I hope he does. I'm coming for you. I'll find him. I'm not going to look for him, but I thought I ran into him in Denver, downtown Denver. I was walking into the Secretary of State office because I had to get some shit done. And there's a dude walking on the street, and I literally stopped, and I started shaking. Like, I was like, and I'm looking back, I'm like, I literally thought it was him. Yeah. He just kept walking, and it had this absolutely uncontrollable reaction I had. And I was like, I had to get my head like back in control because I was about to lose it, man. But anyways, so I'm sitting across the desk. I'm all over the place here. Colonel Hastings' desk at the G3, and he's like, hey, don't worry about Todd. He's your best endorsement.
I get it.
And I was like, cool. So meaning consider the source, like this dude who's absolute shit show. People know.
Right.
He's in a position, whatever. He's saying bad things about you. Well, consider the source. The source matters, right? Yeah. Like, so back to this, I don't know why I had to tell that story, but when you're getting words from subordinates about somebody or whatever, and it's like, okay, hey, how come the group of shitbirds are all saying that's a great leader? Okay, consider the source. So in your popularity contest for leadership, you always have to consider.
Right.
So it's not unanimous voting.
Right.
Let's consider who's making the vote first.
Yeah, it's not how many likes you got on Instagram. You know what I mean? It's like, what does this cohort think of this person? You might get 3 different answers.
Yeah.
So you have to sort that out and be like, okay, I now have to look at that group. But so this is, from because we always like to try to tie this stuff into affiliate ownership. This is something I think many of us lack because that takes a lot of introspection. You have to ask a lot of questions that most people won't answer the first 1,000 times you ask it. And then finally you might crack that nut and they'll be like, okay, here's the deal, man. You're messed up for whatever reason. Here's what I actually think. And I don't think, this is what I've learned, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but if you want people to tell you the truth, you have to ask them a lot of times. To continue to ask, hey, give me the feedback. Because like most people don't actually mean it when they ask, so I have to just keep asking. Hey, no, like literally tell me. If I'm fucked up, I need to know. Tell me. And then eventually you'll get there. But I don't think as leaders and affiliate owners, stuff like that, I don't think they're resilient enough with the ask. Like, tell me. Like, give me the answer.
I would agree. Maybe I'm not in affiliate space. I could see how I would want to agree. I don't think that's wrong. But let me ask this. Let me just throw a different piece to it.
Yep.
If you want people to tell you the truth, then you got to be willing to tell the truth.
100%.
If I'm the kind of guy that always walks around and you're one of my clients, right? Or you go to my gym, one of my members, and like, oh, good movement. Oh, perfect. Oh, beautiful. Like, hey, you're fucked up. Hey, you're not going below parallel. And then you throw a temper tantrum, like, hey, no fucking rap. Like, but if I'm willing to go there with you, regardless of your response, you're probably going to be more willing to tell me the truth too.
We had the same conversation with Nicole Christensen last night about like how our interactions with her clients. I'm like, you have the right to say that because it's been reciprocated so many times, and everybody's just like, you're not bullshitting me here, dude. And out of respect, like, it's going to come back here, and I'm going to take it as well. Yeah. And I think, but
you want people to give you honest feedback. We learned it when we're doing breakouts.
Oh yeah,
in the circles. Oh, great. Oh, perfect. No. Was it or was it not? Are you lying to them, or you don't know? Is your eye not really seeing? It's like, okay, that was better. Well, why was it better? Right. Hey, better. You went deeper. Now keep your chest up.
Right.
Oh, different conversation. And no, that was
perfect. Right? Perfect. Was it perfect?
Really? Was it? Because his knees were kicking in. You know what I mean?
We're looking at the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, now I'm starting to question your credibility as a coach, because if you're calling that perfect,
well, that's a tough one, right? Because you have to ask the follow-on question to say, do you not see that, or are you not okay telling them the truth?
Yeah.
Right. So that's where you have to get through that, and that's a weird little package.
I heard you doing that today.
Yeah.
In the coach's development.
Yeah, we're working. She's like, oh, it's good. I'm like, go back over there. Look at that again. And she's like, it's Justice for it. I'm like, just say that the first time. Yeah. Like, you're not offending them. No. But again, if I want to have this connection with my athletes or my staff, you have to tell them the truth. And sometimes it's painful.
Yep.
But again, I mean, if you're coming from a place of care and you're genuinely invested in these people, it will work itself out.
Well, do all affiliate owners genuinely care?
No.
Well, why not? What do they care? Well, I mean, they care about something, but maybe not necessarily. Right. And there's no indictment there. They're trying to run a business, trying to do this, or just trying to give people an opportunity. They're trying to, like, whatever it is.
Right.
But, like, I mean, okay, does that affiliate owner, does that coach really care about that member? Or do they just care about the attention that they're getting by being the coach, or do they just care about making their money? I mean, there's many different motives.
And what does care like? Do they care about like really getting, or they just care about like I'm doing something that I think feels good? And so like,
what is your definition of care? Have to be better than my definition of care.
Yeah.
Or your expression of care.
But that's one of the things we take. It's just like figuring out what that is first. What you like, what your thing is, not what his or mine is, but like you figure out what yours is. If we can figure that out, well then we can. That's easy. It's much easier from there. Kind of like what you're talking about in this whole evolution. But I think, I mean, affiliate ownership is an emotionally draining thing.
I can't imagine. Man.
Right. Okay. So if you don't have that anchor and you haven't figured that out and you can't revert back to that and understand, well, like, why am I here? Well, you're going to have a real tough go of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to be able to tell people the truth. You're not going to have good staff. You're not going to have people that give a shit. You're not going to have clients that stay around, that trust you, that pick you up when you're a disaster as an owner.
Mm-hmm.
And like, hey, I'm going to give you a pass on this one. Like, I get it. People fall down. Like, I look at some of the members I've had for 10 plus years. I'm like, how did you deal with my nonsense? Like, I'm sorry. Like, the fact that you're still here just means you're an amazing person. Like, what a disaster I was at some points.
Yeah, we all are, right? We're all on the growth curve, ideally up.
Hopefully.
You know? What's funny about this is like, hey, this is no different than Diesel Day. Like, your application is in the affiliate space. It's no different than trying to give messaging to affiliate owners, but like you're trying to make them better affiliate owners, you're trying to make them better people. It all just comes down to be a better person.
Right.
If you're a better person, what do? You ask
better
questions,
affiliate
you try to understand your constituents better, or your clients better, or your family better. Ask questions, a life of introspection, always thinking like, am I good enough? Am I right? Am I wrong? How can I be better? Like, if you don't stay up at night, at least for a couple minutes before you fall asleep, like thinking like, man, what did I fuck up today, and how will I not fuck it up tomorrow? Or how can it be better? What am I not doing right? This life of introspection and constantly bouncing off of different people. What do you see? What do you see? How do you think? Well, this is how I think. Well, is there differences that need to be reconciled, or is it just differences that need to be understood? And how
or
can
are you looking at this from a different angle? That I don't see. Yeah.
You want to be a better affiliate owner, man. Like just ask yourself a ton of questions instead of the same tired questions that you give yourself the same thumbs up A+ answers to.
Doing great.
You know, I'm going to give myself an A- on this one. But, I mean, come on, let's face it, it's still an A. Right?
Oh, so what's the did you do the did you and Chris go do your rowing extravaganza yet?
No, man, it's coming up December.
When is it?
This
December.
next December. Yeah, we've been training now for a year.
Literally, their own mind is probably the hardest thing for them. This race is the toughest mental challenge on the planet, easily.
Well, I say one thing, and someone told me before this race as well, and that's be stronger than your excuse. Because after 3 hours row, you can find 100 excuses to stay in your bed for half an hour longer or something. And but as soon as you think about those excuses, that's when you punish yourself and go outside and go and row again. And that's the thing I think. If you want to achieve stuff, you have to be stronger than those excuses.
We got another year, 10 months left. And
So you're rowing across the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. It's one of those things about pushing
Is
the
that a couple
margins
hours?
that I'm done doing.
Couple hours. Yeah. It's just a leisurely
Like a 10K?
Oh, God, 2 hour shifts, 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 2 off for 30 days.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I think it's 30 days, but that to me is not for the physical aspect of it. That is terrifying to me.
2 on, 2 off for 30 days.
30
That's
days.
like your sleep.
Yeah.
It's
and
2 on, 2
but
off.
it's a
and-
crew
and
of-
your sleep is still food, boat maintenance, communications, all your daily duties.
For 30 days. Like
It's a crew of 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's
We're
you,
doing
Chris.
a 4-person team.
Who else is
Oh, you might know him.
Who's
I
the
might
Chris
ask
you're
him.
referring to?
Chris Smith?
Chris Smith.
Oh, is
Yeah,
it Chris?
Yeah.
CrossFit Trident.
Jim Hine? James
Why do I
Hine?
know that name?
Team guy.
I don't think I know him, but I may know of him. But yeah. Okay.
I don't know if he's East Coast Rescue. Brian Nicholson.
No, I
Another
don't know
team
who that
guy.
is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They both know Clint. No, Jim knows Clint.
Okay.
Well.
I don't actually know Clint. I just know of him,
Oh,
like
gotcha.
a second or third degree of. And I don't remember how I came upon him, but started kind of like following some of his stuff and listening to some of his talks. And I was like, some heavy shit.
Yeah.
So that's terrifying. Rowing across the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that. That's what made me say, hey, you got to do it.
But
You got to do it.
but
Like,
that's mine's not the physical. Mine is the fear of feeling so small.
In the like in the world, you mean, in that moment?
So I've sailed, and not sailed, but like
You're
as
in
we
the
call it, the
Navy,
Navy.
yeah.
Like you make a trip across the Atlantic Ocean, and that's one of the more humbling things. You're sitting in the middle of the ocean as far as you can see, and you realize like how.
And that's on a big boat.
On a 300-foot.
350-foot boat, and you're just like, oh my
Steel
god, I'm
boat
like so
worship.
small. Like it's just one of those things. If I just fell off here, like that's it. Nobody's ever gonna find me, and it's gone. It's like not even a chance. Like that's it. You're just so small. And I'm thinking about like being on a rowboat.
25.5 feet long, 5.
That's
5.5
terrifying.
feet wide. 4
It's
dudes.
terrifying. And I've been in heavy seas. That scares the shit out of me.
And you have to obviously pack your food for the month.
It's 100% unsupported. So everything that goes, you don't get any support. Otherwise, you're DQ'd. So
What's the safety
something-
mechanisms for that?
I was gonna go with food, but go with safety first. I was thinking about what I would eat.
yeah, don't fucking show up if you don't belong. That's the safety, right? Like it's kind of cool. Like, yeah.
But there's no like, there has to be some sort
There's
of
some
track.
safety.
Yeah, okay.
We've
Yeah.
got a bunch of courses that we have to take, mandatory courses, sea survival, medical, this, that, all this stuff. We got mandatory for the race. They'll use shore-based search and rescue for the 400 miles, 500 miles offshore each direction,
Right.
which leaves 2,000 miles in the middle. And then there's just maritime tradition, courtesy, law, right? Like merchant vessels.
Yep.
So we'll have all of our comm suites, trackers,
Okay.
all that stuff, and you just...
So this is legit on your own.
Oh, yeah. They'll have they've got 2 cutters, they're like 35-foot sailboats that will
Kind of track with you.
go through the race. But I mean, there's going to be 4. This year there was 42. I think there's 42 or 44
Is
boats.
it a race?
We signed up for a race, so we're not just doing it on our own. We're part of a race.
So it's a group of insane people.
Yeah, it's cool. The race
Got
is
it.
actually going on right now. For this year, there's still a couple boats, but there could be 1,500 to 2,000 miles separating
Boat to
first boat to last boat. There's people that do this solo.
That is nuts.
Yeah. World record for the youngest female ever to row was set last year by this 21-year-old girl.
I wanted to achieve something. And I wanted to challenge myself. So then in the future, whenever you come across any just life challenges, I can say, well, if I rode an ocean, I can get over this.
I couldn't even imagine being
Was she on
21
Joe
years
Rogan?
old. She was.
I was
That's
gonna
right.
say,
Yeah.
she was
That's right.
there.
Yeah.
I couldn't be 21 years old by myself rowing across the Atlantic. I mean, she did it all by herself, man. It's just phenomenal. We didn't think she was going to finish because she got caught in a storm. Anyways, that's a different story. But yeah, we're doing it. We're doing
Okay,
it.
back to the food. What do you pack that you look forward to on that? Because I imagine you have to have some sort of mental, like, almost like a reward in between those. You must have something to look forward to.
Yeah, the finish line.
There's that like peanut butter cookies.
I'm not speaking for my other teammates. And it is nice to have a creature comfort, right? But that's not how I'm wired. I'm not wired that
So
way.
whatever they serve
If
you.
you're already thinking that you're going to need a reward to help you from being weak,
This is not the event for you.
Okay, I was gonna sign up. So
well,
maybe I
no.
should.
But like being serious, right? Yeah, this isn't the event for you. But if that's your
Honest
mind, if
feedback,
that's your
that's what it was.
mindset,
Right.
if that's your mindset, let's fix or let's introduce a different way of thinking because you're already planning to fail. You're already planning to be weak.
I was
You're
gonna
already
finish.
planning
I just was gonna have some peanut butter along the way.
Already planning to need that, right?
You
Like,
definitely
go
need
back-
Diesel Day 1.
I was
before
gonna
you do
say,
that.
sounds like I need April. What is it? April 1st?
Yeah. Go back to the isolation challenge we did. We talked about that, right? Like
Right.
the dude brings a sleeping bag into the shipping container.
Like, you're
if you already bring the sleeping bag into the shipping container, you're planning on using it. You're going to use it. If you're using the sleeping bag, you're not rowing. Or you're not running.
This is kind of a burn the ships type
Yeah.
of analogy.
That's perfect. Yeah. I'm not going.
Literally.
I'm not going
This is
to
a little
need
pun intended.
Don't burn the
Yeah.
ship.
the food, man. Like, it's fuel. It's a purpose. It's a mechanism. It doesn't need to taste good. It just needs to feed this. Got it. If you're the kind of person that can't eat something that you don't like when you're hungry, you've never been hungry.
You're mentally weak. You should definitely do Diesel Day 1. But
Is there benefit to doing it with the team
28
that you know?
CPs.
Like if with the best hour team we're gonna sign up, or is it something that you would say just show up?
Diesel Day is what you're asking?
Yeah,
Okay.
Diesel Days.
And I've had people come together because they need to have somebody else. But like when you're here, you're gonna find that that's nice, and we would talk about that on the ring finger. But having external motivators. But you got to have internal motivators as well. So if you come here, if you and Fern, because you guys are boyfriends, boy bands,
That's true.
Like, and you need him for comfort, like you're going to come here and he's an external motivator for you. Like that's
He
cool.
demotivates
But we
me,
are
to be quite honest.
when you're out here, like I'm going to make that not, it'll still be there.
I
But it
just
won't
meant more from like a bonding.
Yeah, we did one group. Connor Warman's club came up here, CrossFit Barrington, up in just outside of Chicago. What's that, Illinois? I think that's Illinois. Anyways, they came up, bunch of great dudes. They're like this group of dudes, and they're tight. They're really tight. I've never seen a group of 9 dudes so close and so tight like that.
That's cool.
You know, outside of the military.
Right.
I mean, they were tight. And so we did a special event, a private event for them to come and do. And it was really neat. But I prayed off of that and plied them against each other to get them to increase their performance, to get them to be in this emotional state where, you know, and then we can leverage different things, because it's not just a, hey, we're going to, you know, there's people out there, there's rip-off artists out there that try to do their own diesel day. We're not going to indict Bergeron on this podcast.
He listens to.
But there's rip-off artists out there. They think they're just going to throw some shit together. Like, this isn't something that Atosh just decide, like, a lot of time and energy. There's a lot of facets. It's really, really deep.
I was going to say,
develop you.
Intent. The intent behind this is what makes it what it is.
And that's why they're not happening every weekend either. I'm sure it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean,
on your end.
The last thing I want to do is this to become too frequent for me, and then I'm burnt out and I'm not taking it as serious because I'm not charged up about it to be there for you, right? Like it's
a big emotional investment.
Yeah. And we won't have, and like, so we've got these 3 that are coming up, and I only wanted to book the 3, one April beginning, one towards the end of April, one second week of May, spread out enough, but I won't even have the same staff at all 3 because I don't want it to be not special for them, because then they're not, and nothing against, but you understand complacency. You understand complacency. You can fight it, but it's going to happen, you know? Right. And I'm worried about that myself.
How many a year do you run? Or do you have a plan for this year?
I don't have a plan really. I probably do. I want to do another Diesel Day 2, a little bit later in the year, and I'll probably do 1 or 2 more diesel. So I'll probably do 5 Diesel Day 1s, maybe 2 Diesel Day 2s. Okay. So it's just tough. I'm
definitely
balancing.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do one. Lindsay and Cassie are going to beat me to it, but I think it's something that people should look into, particularly. And again, for what you said, not for the physical portion.
No, it's
like
not.
Come here.
The physical portion's really good though.
Right. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's exactly what it's teed up to be, but I don't think that's why people should show up. I think people should show up to come out of the back end having, shed some stuff, become a better person on the other end, and be able to take that forward and whatever you're going to do, affiliate owner, coach, whatever.
That's why we did the video. Athena came. Athena.
Oh, really? Yeah. She was in
the
– yeah, yep.
And we did a video and trying to capture some of this stuff and focus on the human development that's going on and some of this other stuff.
Right.
And hear Marshall and Mike talk about the things that they talk about, and hear Athena. And we did a couple Instagram posts capturing Athena's words with her testimonial over 5 takeaways and things like that to try to show that this isn't just a bunch of dudes coming to try to throw some steel down and we're fitness.
That's really cool, dude. I think I think this is this is a stretch event is what I would just is like you're going to be way outside your comfort zone regardless of where you come in, I think.
But it's appropriate too. It's infinitely scalable.
I don't think you just come in and break people. Right. Yeah. I would intentionally come in with the goal of dominating Jay and him
leaving the
same
goal today at the workout.
Him leaving a worse person as well.
I don't know. I'm gonna find out what snacks he needs. So
like some cookies.
Some cookies.
Jenny, we have like some M&Ms, maybe some peanut M&Ms.
Spread of treats and yums.
I've heard the good. Dustin did say a lot of peanut butter sandwiches.
There's something for everybody in the spread for sure.
I do want to say usually I'm the most masculine one on this podcast, but today.
Definitely
I'm going to give that to you, Tosh.
Where does that come from?
I'm just saying, like, usually I'm the masculine one.
Yeah.
And
I've never heard that.
No? Yeah. I feel like people think that, though.
Yeah. I don't know who those people are.
Today, Tosh gets you...
Take your shirt off real quick, and then you can get that. You can have that title.
You can't wait.
You can have that title back.
But, I mean, I hope, because even just listening to you talk and being a part of this episode, I'm motivated. And I think even if you never sign up for a diesel day, you can get some motivation from within, but find it from other people. But yeah, challenge yourself to get out there and do something like this. You don't have to row across
Do hard stuff.
the freaking Atlantic
Right.
without peanut butter to prove that you're masculine. But you know, you can sign up for Diesel Day.
This has nothing
do
to
a lot
do.
of things.
This has nothing. Which is interesting that you're saying this.
Masculine
I'm not
might
trying
not be
to
the right
dick,
word.
but like, there's nothing about me that tries or strives to be masculine. Maybe it comes
key.
out as masculine. Fine. I don't do these things to try to. It's funny because I was actually thinking and stewing about something like, why am I doing these things? Am I trying to? When I was younger, or less mature, or in my growth curve way sooner, I would do things to try to prove myself to other people.
Right.
Prove myself. Everything I'm doing, I'm trying to prove to somebody else, prove to somebody else, prove to somebody else. And I found that somewhere in the last 10 years in between there, somewhere, like, I give two shits what anybody thinks about me. I'm not doing anything to prove anything to anybody. I'm trying to prove to myself, are you really what you say you are, so that people don't believe something that's false, so that you don't lead them down the wrong road. But like, I don't give two shits about being masculine. Doesn't matter. Like this whole masculine thing, it just doesn't even matter to me. There's nothing I'm trying. If it comes off received as being macho or whatever, like fine. But I'm on this quest inside of here to heal some shit, to be better. I don't want to use the cliche, be a better person today, because I believe in sucking less. I want to suck less tomorrow than I did today. I want to suck less tomorrow than I did last week. I've been the worst possible version of myself. I can go back to that point in time. I will refuse to ever be that person again. That person disgusts me. And I've got the luxury, the privilege to be able to have that perspective and say, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. I'm never going back there. Never going back there. And everything that I'm doing, I'm trying. And some days I'm better at it than others. Some days I have a little tiny relapse. But if every day I'm trying to further distance myself from that miserable human being, I'm hedging. Use your sickness, fitness, wellness, health curve. What's that continuum? Jenny, what's that continuum?
Right? Jenny doesn't know.
Not the real one that OPT
Sickness,
just came out with.
Fitness,
but,
right? Fuck that rip-off artist, too. He is a rip-off artist. Anyways, somebody actually reached me out. Never mind, a different story, but that's not for here. I just call people out, man. Whether I'm right or wrong, it's just my point of view.
I'm not upset about it.
I don't like people that steal from other people. It pisses me off. You borrow and give credit, that's a different story.
Right.
Fucking thief. Don't repackage and brand. But it's the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum. Well, sickness was that person that I was. Now, for me, it's your worst possible version might be you cheated on your 11th grade math test, and that's the worst possible version that you've ever been. Like, that's fine.
I mean, there was no way I was going to get out of 5th grade if I didn't do that.
Hey, I hear you. But, your worst version of yourself doesn't have to be what mine. It's not comparable. It's I recognize at a specific point in time, there was a period where I was, no fucking way. I'm never going back there. Never going back there. And everything I do now is not to prove myself to anybody else, not to be more masculine, I don't have to go into a bar and like measure people's dicks and say, hey, I'm in 3rd place or last place or whatever. Like I don't do none of that anymore. I'm just me. And everything is driven for that reason inside of there, and I just find myself having to constantly push my margins farther and farther. And now it's funny, we're almost like leading into the podcast I want to do is like, when can I stop pushing these fucking margins?
Get that lazy boy.
Yeah, like after this row, man, like at some point, man, you just gotta
take a break.
Take a break, yeah. Let's take a breather and reflect on where you're at, man. Let's just tread water for a little bit.
Well, I think people should check it out. I appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
I appreciate the message, and I think it's important to have those conversations. And I hope people take, the appropriate message away from this and think about it and stew on it and figure out how to take that information and apply it in their own lives. Because there's a lot of important shit to be done, specifically in the affiliate space, and because you have a lot of reach in being in that position. And I think it's something that shouldn't be taken lightly. So I hope this helps, for anybody that's listening to this. And if you want to reach out to Tosh for Diesel Day, where's the best place to find that information?
Oh, crookedbutterfly.com.
Okay.
Or just Instagram at Crooked Butterfly. It's kind of where most of my material's at.
Cool.
And if you just Google it, you'll find it.
Cool.
What's neat is I got notification that the trademarks are in.
Oh, nice.
Crooked Butterfly and Diesel. So I'm really excited about that.
Cool. Well,
And hey, and I don't want anybody reaching out telling me where Todd Eckloff lives. I already know. Right.
listen, there's so many incriminating things about this conversation.
I don't want anybody reaching out to give me that address.
But no, dude, this was fantastic. Thank you for having us. Yeah, this has been great. And look forward to catching up with you soon, man. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.